Hey! He's not using Toyota fluid.
What's going on, guys and gals? Welcome back to the garage. As you've already figured out, we are doing a transmission service on a 5th generation Toyota 4Runner. And if you're in any of the social media groups, there's a great debate over whether you should just drain and fill, or if you should drop the pan, replace the strainer. It goes back and forth. It just never stops. So basically in this video, we're going to cover two methods. The first method we're going to cover is drain and fill. Simple, right? You drain it out, you fill it up. The second method is more involved. It's going to be a pan drop, gasket replacement, strainer replacement with O-ring, and we're going to need something to monitor the temperature. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to go across the table and show you the things that we're going to be using. Then we're going to dive into the service. So follow along and hopefully you might learn something. All right, so here's the bucket I bought, and I will link to this stuff either in the description of the video or on kaufmansgarage.com. So that's going to be your drain bucket. As you can see, it's clearly marked in quarts, and you can see the fluid level. Now, the fluid. So this is the elephant in the room, right? I'm not going to deep dive on this fluid. Everybody wants you to use Toyota fluid, and as far as I know, somebody can comment and prove me wrong, but I don't think Toyota has a refinery. So the Toyota branded fluid is made for Toyota by someone. The transmission itself is made by a company called Aisin or Aisin. You can buy Aisin WS fluid. I think that stands for World Standard, not sure. The Toyota fluid is also going to be labeled as WS. So if you go the Toyota fluid route, make sure it's WS or the Aisin fluid WS. For me, the Aisin fluid was much cheaper, and I'm all about saving a buck. So I did a lot of research on this company, some information on their website. It is actually a Japanese company that has worked with Honda and so forth on developing 0W20 oil originally, and I won't go into all that stuff. I'm not trying to change your mind on fluid. All right, this is just what I decided was going to be good for me. So if you want to use Toyota fluid, please use Toyota fluid. If you want to use the Aisin fluid, use the Aisin fluid. Just use something. So for me, like I said, the type TLS LV is the equivalent of the Toyota WS fluid, and that's what I'm using. So basically that covers the drain and fill. Here are the crush washers. I'll link to these as well. These were like $7 on Amazon, super cheap. So this gets you your differential drain, transfer case, drain and fill, and your differential fill. So what a deal, right? So the next step. So this is where it gets more involved. You have the strainer. This is a Toyota part. All of the stuff I'm showing you, I'm going to put the links to the part numbers and so forth where you can buy this stuff. So the strainer, this is the strainer, and down in you can see the screen, a little fine screen in there. So technically this is called a, it's upside down, but strain, you can see strain. It's a strainer, not a filter, but technically it still filters, right? So I don't think the transmission on this 4Runner has been serviced at 165,000 miles, which is kind of a bummer. But we'll have a look at the strainer that comes out. Technically, you don't have to change these, but I'm going to do it since I'm in there. And you need an O-ring. So here's the O-ring for the strainer and the gasket, transmission pan gasket. And here's where things get interesting. So when you don't know how much fluid came out and you have to adjust the fluid level, it has to be adjusted at a particular temperature. So there's a couple of ways to do this. Number one, you can buy one of these infrared thermometers, surface thermometers. I've had this for a while. Harbor Freight, super cheap. And so you can scan the pan, transmission pan, and check the temperature of the fluid that way. Now for me, I'm going to be a little more detailed, and I'm going to be using the King Bolin. I don't know if I'll use the Solo Scan or the eDiag Elite on this one. The eDiag Elite is multi-brand, like 95% of the stuff on the market. Solo Scan is as it sounds. This one is Toyota specific. So I will be using one of these to monitor the transmission fluid temperature. And once it hits that temperature, you pull the fluid adjustment plug. Once it slows to a trickle, you put the plug in, you're done. So keep in mind, there's no dipstick on these. And that's why you have to adjust the fluid level at a particular temperature, and you're done. So anyway, that covers what we're using to do the work. Let's dive in. Okay, so jumping into our eManual online repair manual. I'll have a link to eManual online in the video description and on kaufmansgarage.com. And click one of those links. That'll take you directly to the website, and you can pick up your own copy of the repair manual for yours. So we're going to dive into drivetrain, automatic transmission, fluid, and adjustment. All right. So this is going to walk you through a few things. Number one, if I skip ahead a little bit, so here is the fill plug. This is the passenger side rear of the transmission. This is going to be your overflow plug. We'll get into that. And I think there's going to be a drain plug right back here. So essentially what we're doing, as described in the manual, we are transmission pan and drain plug removal. This says we need 1.8 quarts. I'm going to measure this anyway just to see what comes out, and I'll show that to you as well. If you're removing the valve body, you need 4.5 quarts. We're definitely not doing that, and we're certainly not removing the torque converter. So essentially what we're going to be doing here is what most guys are going to be doing. You're either going to be draining the pan and refilling, which in that case, as I mentioned previously, that is kind of the drain and fill. And if you know the transmission fluid hasn't been leaking, you suspect the level is at the proper level, you're relying on the transmission fluid being at the proper level, even though you don't know it's at the proper level. That's kind of the problem with doing the drain and fill, because you don't know if it's at the proper level when you start, right? So in this case, we're going to drop the pan. I'm going to replace the strainer, and I'm still going to measure everything that comes out, and then we'll go from there. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So what we're doing, draining the pan, pulling the pan, and we're going to refill it through that fill hole, right? And once you have it full, the next steps, move the shift. You're going to start the engine, move the shift lever through the entire gear range to circulate the fluid. This says wait 30 seconds with the engine idling. Stop the engine, remove the fill plug, fill the transmission with the remaining fluid until the amount of the table has been filled. I don't know. I don't understand that. I guess we'll find out. So now, in order to check the fluid level or to adjust the fluid level, two ways I covered in the previous clip. You're going to use the infrared surface thermometer on the pan to kind of monitor the temperature, fluid temperature. We're going to be using the King Bolin Solo Scan scan tool to monitor the transmission fluid. That way I can be under there with it. Or if you don't have either, there is a third way. And under the driver's side of the dash, you're going to find the data link connector, and it's going to look like this. So you can grab a piece of wire, strip two ends, and kind of twist the wire together, fold it, whatever you have to do so that it fits snugly in these connections. So you're going to hit the number 4. So terminal number 4, and you're going to jump to terminal number 13, which is going to be directly under terminal 5 next to 4. So you're going to jump those with a piece of wire. And what that's going to do, as the engine is warming up, that's going to make your D or drive indicator come on or flash. Now, when it comes on, right here, it explains it. If your temperature is below 104 degrees, it turns off the indicator. All right, so when this indicator comes on, that tells you that your fluid temperature is 104 to 113 degrees. That's when you pull the overflow plug. That's time to jump into action. And then once you pull that, it tells you up here that once only drops of fluid come out, you're finished. Fluid has been adjusted to the proper level, right? So, and then if the D indicator flashes or blinks, that means the fluid temperature is higher than 113 degrees and you have to start over. All right, so do you have an understanding of what's going on here? So essentially, we're going to drain it and probably overfill it, get it to temperature, pull the overflow plug, watch till it slows to just drops, reinstall the overflow plug, and we're finished. Holy cow, this has been a mouthful. I'm sorry. So anyway, these repair manuals are super handy, and if you do anything to your vehicle at all, you're going to have one of these. Don't be that guy that's posting in the social media groups, how do I do this or how do I do that? Do something for yourself and read and learn and teach yourself how to do this. It does so much for your confidence, and you'll feel so much better knowing that you did it right and you're not relying on other people's bad information to work on your vehicle. So let's dive into it, guys and gals. I'm going to start with draining the fluid, and then we're going to jump into a refill, temperature monitoring, and fluid level adjustment. So here we go. Good morning. Having a little bit of coffee and making a plan. And I had every intention of getting up real early today and just getting after it. And yeah, it didn't happen.
All right, let's get down to business. So for the drain plug, you're going to need a 14 millimeter socket. The overflow plug is a 5 millimeter Allen, and it goes in pretty deep. So, and first rule of thumb, make sure you can get the fill plug loose first. If you can't get the fill plug loose or out, you can't fill it, then you can't drive it. So here we go. I'm going to block your view for just a minute here. Oh, almost made a mess. So close. You can't see the bucket, but we are at a quart. Now in the manual it says pan, drain plug and pan drop 1.8 quarts, right? So let's kind of see where we land here. We're over a quart and a half now. We just hit 2 quarts. All right, so that's 2.5. This drain plug does not have a crush washer on it, unless it's stuck to the pan, which is very possible. And we just hit 3 quarts. And we're slowing down quite a bit. All right, so I'm going to let this continue to drain. Get rid of this glove. That's not me. All right, so I'm going to let this continue to drain, and we'll come back and start pulling the pan. What I probably should have done, just out of curiosity, was pull the overflow plug. It's not running. Yeah, never mind, that wouldn't have been accurate. So, okay, so anyway, I'll shut up. Gonna let this drain, and I'll be back. All right, so we ended up right at 3 quarts. Just a touch over. And I'm gonna remove the pan. Get this set up here. There's 150 bolts around the pan. Just kidding. It's not 150, but a lot. So let's get those loose. Nope. Let's take that one and that one. These are 10 millimeter if I haven't mentioned that already. All right, so we have all of the pan bolts out. Pretty sure. Yep. All right. And apparently I'm going to need a little pry bar. All right, so let me go get a pry bar. Get those bolts. Oh, crinkle. I shouldn't need anything super heavy duty to pry with, so where to pry, where to pry. Okay, here we go. That escalated quickly. All right, so I'm gonna let that drain. Now, popular opinion says there's still about a quart of oil or fluid in the pan when you drop it. So I'm going to put that in the bucket. And that should equal our total drain. All right, so let's drain the pan into the drain bucket. Now another reason I wanted to do this has magnets in the bottom of the pan that capture metallic particles, magnetic particles, steel particles. And I want to clean those. So that's another reason I wanted to pull the pan. All right, so we're down to just a drip out of the pan. I think we're good. So, where are we at? So remember, in the repair manual, it said if you're removing the valve body, which apparently this drains enough as if you were removing the valve body, I'm staring dead at 4.5 quarts. Right? Here's a gallon, that's 4 quarts. Here's a half, there's 5 quarts. So we're right at 4.5 quarts. Now, if you wanted to simply go off of that, put 4.5 quarts in, that's what the manual says, right? So that should be good to go. So I'm still going to show you how to check the temperature. Probably will pull the plug just to see what happens. Also, it does need to be level. That's why I've got it on wood blocks, just to make sure everything stays level. So anyway, I'm gonna get this pan cleaned out and we'll go from there. Off we go. I say that a lot, don't I? Off we go. All right. As a man, you know, one thing you don't want to see at the doctor. All right. Ow. Ow. Okay, ruined that one. Okay, here we go. Come on. All right, so the first order of business, let's get these magnets out of here. I'll go over those in a bit.
What are you making a video about?
It's actually recording right now.
I know.
I'm changing the transmission fluid. And let's not take a chance. Let's see if I can get this.
I like the Toyota.
Yeah? I do too.
Yeah, I saw the Porsche and I was like, I thought why I just drove this 4Runner. I was like, Pappy bought a Porsche. That was my first thought.
No,
and
it
then
is
she
not
was like,
mine.
no, Wyatt got that for prom. I was like, he drove that to prom.
It says Pappy's Porsche. All right, so I'm using just this plastic. I'm not using a razor blade because a razor blade can dig into the metal. And I don't want to create any channels for fluid to pass through. Not that I probably would anyway, but all right, so the transmission pan gasket came off in one piece. That is awesome. And all I've done so far is literally wipe it out with paper towels, as you have seen. It's looking pretty good. So check that out.
That's clean.
There wasn't any chunks of anything in the bottom. I need to get the plugs back out. Let's go ahead and get the plugs out. And see if we have a crush washer under this drain plug or not. All right, let's get these plugs out. There is not a crush washer underneath the drain plug. I'll have to look and see if there's actually supposed to be or not. Now, this plug looks exactly the same. Get this out of here. Exactly the same as the third gen 4Runner plug. I had some extra third gen 4Runner plugs and a crush washer for the third gen. Now I will probably go ahead and put a crush washer on the 5th gen plug. So I'm just gonna let that go right there for now.
I'm just checking on if Nani and Poppy.
Okay. Are they gonna text you? Now, let's pull the overflow plug. I've got to show you what this looks like. So inside here is the overflow plug, drain plug. Here are the magnets. You can see some junk on the magnets, but the pan itself was super clean. I am going to clean this out a bit further. So far, so good, right? And I probably just jinxed myself. All right, so all of the plugs are out. All right, so this is what we get. Now that does have a crush washer on it, just like the one I just showed you for the third gen. So that is the same. Let's just throw that away. So this is interesting. The overflow plug, the tube stays in there. I thought the whole thing would come out, but this is all that comes out. Cool. Now, let's clean this a little further. Can I hear?
No, I told them to let me know. They're going to Chick-fil-A right now to get my
Oh, okay.
breakfast.
You haven't had breakfast yet?
No.
So these wipes, I use these a lot. They are awesome for cleaning your hands. I clean tools. I clean carpet.
Shout out to Bow Towels.
That's right. Shout out to Tub of Towels. Get them on Amazon. Once I get down to one tub on the shelf, I order 2 more just so I always have them. I use these a lot. So let's clean this side.
Do they last a long time?
Yeah, it just depends on how much you do, and like this right now will take a few because this dirt is caked on and I've got to scrub it a little bit. I'll tell you what I could do. Just want to maybe spray some stuff on it, but let's do some manual labor.
Yeah.
You can probably stop it here. No. All right, so the pan is clean. Nice and shiny. The other side, it's okay. I'm not going to scrub it anymore. A lot of this stuff is just stained. It's from dirt stain. This has been off-road a little bit, as they should be. So, but the inside is what truly matters, and we're good. So now, the magnets. If you see these 4 pockets, the 4 recesses in the bottom, those have magnets in there. And the magnets capture, this one's stuck to the table. I think it's clutch material, not sure. But as transmissions wear, these magnets capture metallic particles and keep it out of the fluid. This is 4 of them. I'm going to clean these up and I'll show them to you after they're done.
off.
Yeah, you can pause it, that's fine. All right, so here are the magnets all cleaned up. I'll get those back in the pan. And then we're going to pull the strainer. All right, so once you drop the pan, the next thing we're going to do is drop the strainer. Looks like 4 bolts for that. And I can already see the screen. Now remember, early in the video, we talked about whether you do or do not have to change the screen. And I think I already have my answer. So before I put the pan up, I do have to check the sealing surface, make sure there's no remnants of the old gasket. Try to get that dry, but next up, let's pull the strainer. All right, so let's pull the strainer. One thing we have to do before we put this back together is look up torque specs. All right, get dripped on here. Okay. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy. All right, you can hit stop. All right, we've got a bit of a cleanup on aisle 3 here. So I think I've got it under control. One thing that's helpful or useful is I keep a roll of packing paper in the garage, and for stuff like this, it really makes cleanup a lot easier. All right, here is the strainer. These do have an O-ring. I would not reuse that if you're replacing your strainer. And let's see, let's have a look at the screen. So if you compare this to the beginning of the video, I pointed the camera down in the new strainer, and you can see what it looked like. This is not a totally fair comparison since this has fluid, but you can see some stuff in there. Now, this is nowhere near plugged up or anything like that. This could totally be reused, and that's why everybody says you don't have to change the strainer. So, but now I know. All right, so the whole purpose of this for me was just to establish a baseline so that I know what has been done and so forth. So, but yeah, you can reuse these. This is obvious. So I'm going to go under here and clean up the massive spill. I've got to get that cleaned up before I can get back under there. So hang on. All right, so next we're looking for torque specs on the strainer. I've already searched this morning. Hey, there it is. So oil strainer, oil pan. So I assume this is oil strainer and oil pan. Let me get a pen, write this down. All right, so we're looking at 80 inch-pounds. Now let's find oil strainer, oil pan, 80 inch-pounds. So those bolts are about the same size, so that makes sense. Let's look for oil strainer, oil pan. So we need to know how tight to tighten the drain plug. We'll go ahead and torque that. So let's look for torque specifications. Now, this manual is pretty comprehensive. As you can see, we're on page 276 of 8593. So drain plug
and number 2 oil pan. So 30 foot-pounds. Filter drain. So I wonder if drain plug, oil strainer. Well, okay, so we've already found that one. How about transmission fill? Let's try to find fill. Fill plug. Refill plug. There we go. Oh, that was probably right. Right under what I was just looking at. Oil pan or overflow plug. Here we go. So drain plug. So that's 15 foot-pounds. We'll convert that to inch-pounds. So that's going to be drain and overflow. And this is going to be, so I'm just making notes here on the side. Strainer, oil pan. All right. Now, refill plug, 27 foot-pounds. We will also convert that to inch-pounds. Okay, cool. We have torque specs.
All right, so next up is the strainer. Still got some dripping going on, and actually going to need some of that to put on the O-ring. So let's do that. So the strainer is going to go in just like it came out. There's a little O-ring, and we know where our bolt holes are, so let's try to work that up in there. We're going. I think it's up there. All right, so let's get a bolt. Just making sure that's in there. We don't want to have to take the pan back off. Okay, so it appears to be in. Okay, I believe I'm satisfied with that. Now, I'm getting dripped all over. All right, so let's put the other two. Now, still have to check the gasket surface, sealing surface of the transmission, just to make sure it's clean before we put the transmission pan up. Remember, we're at, supposed to be at 80 inch-pounds, right? So I've got the torque wrench set at. Okay. All right, our strainer is in. New O-ring, everything's tight. Let me grab something. We'll check this sealing surface of the transmission. and we're going to put the pan on. All right, let's get started on the pan. So this is the front. Now, we have to make sure our gasket stays in place. I had hoped to start a couple of bolts through the gasket, but they don't stay in place, so now we're falling off. What in the world? All right, let me fix this. Let's get this back in place. Okay, so this is going to be a fidgety deal here. So the gasket only goes on one way, and when you have that off, it's going to be obvious which way it goes. So let's get at least one bolt started. I'm probably going to get in your way. I apologize. We're still in place? I think so. I think I'm good. I can see that one. Let's just start at the back corner. You just want to start the bolts at this point. Let's do this corner. Basically, my goal here is just to get the bolts started and make sure I keep the gasket in place. And I think we're there. Okay, cool. Now, I can continue with the rest of the 150 bolt installation. I've already torqued the drain plug. I'm done with that. We've already drained it. I've put a crush washer on it. I've torqued it to the 80. No, that one was the, anyway, you'll see the torque specs. I don't remember what that one was, but 170, was it 170 inch-pounds? 180? I don't remember. So anyway, I've already torqued that one because we're finished with the drain plug. The overflow plug I just have in place. I have not installed the crush washer yet. Guess we have to pull that plug back out. Okay, we're done. Woo! Holy cow. That rocks. Okay, let's see if we can get this party started here. So we have to get the tube into the fill hole. This is going to be such a mess. I can already tell. You know, sometimes you can just tell when things are going to be messy. And this is going to be one of them. And Tube does not go in very far. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, I should have set this up first. I'll tell you what, right now, I would recommend an electric pump. All right, so here's the setup. I have this quart on a little drain bucket with the pump, and the hose runs into the side of the trans. Not really a good way to film this, so, and you don't want to see me pumping fluid for 30 minutes anyway, so I might show you a little bit here, if you can even see. What I'm doing. Okay. That's it. I gotta do this 5 times. Last one, guys and gals. I did spill a little bit. Naturally, you're gonna have some spillage. The pump works okay. I can't say that I would recommend it. It's okay. You know, it was $7. Right? You get what you pay for. So, I have to put 5 quarts in it. That's my goal, is to put 5 quarts in. This does not empty the quart. It leaves about 200 milliliters in the bottom, and there's close to 1,000 milliliters in a quart. So in order to get 5 quarts, I have to do 6, technically 6 quarts, because it leaves a little bit, basically 25% in each fill out of the quart. And so if I need 5 quarts, I need 6 of these to hit 5 quarts. And this is the last one. It's not horrible. It's just not fun. And the hose wants to slip out every now and then. I had initially ordered 5 quarts, and I thought I better pick up a 6th just in case. I'm glad I did. Whoo! Almost there. Okay. Let's try to get just a touch more. That's all she wrote, folks. All right. Now remember, we have to tighten the fill plug. To what? Are you paying attention? 27 foot-pounds, I think it was. 364 inch-pounds, I don't remember. Now, I've got a little bit of cleanup to do. I have to set up some cameras so I can show you the scan tool where I'm going to monitor the temperature. And once we're up to temp, we're going to pull the overflow plug. Now, this is going to be running, so you'll likely not be able to hear much. So I'll try to capture as much as I can. But you get the concept. Once I hit 104 to 113 degrees, we're going to pull the overflow plug. Once it slows to a drip, we tighten it up, torque it, we're done. I need to go ahead and set up my torque wrench so it's ready. All right, get this cleaned up and we'll get started. All right, so there's really no great way to film this. I'm going to do the best I can. All right, so we're just waiting on 104 here. We're at 98. All right, it is go time. Okay, we're already at a drip. That's weird that I not put enough in it. Okay. Well, I know I put 5 quarts in it. 4.5 came out. All right, we are going on a road test. So I know you didn't get a good view of that last part, but essentially what happened, I hooked up the scan tool to monitor the fluid temperature. And once I hit 104 degrees, I pulled the overflow plug. And I did get a couple of drops. It really wasn't, it didn't run out, and I didn't get several drops. I got a couple of drops. Now, according to the manual, it says to stop when you only get drops. So I have to assume that it's at the right level. Now, you saw how much came out. We definitely had 4.5 quarts in the drain bucket, and maybe another half a quart spilled, quite a bit. So I put 5 quarts in. So 5 quarts out, 5 quarts in. We have to at least be where we were. So my goal of this was to kind of disprove the need to measure what comes out. But I have to say that it was pretty valuable. If nothing else, just to ease my mind that at least I've got the same amount of fluid in there that came out. So, and if, you know, going back to the repair manual, it mentions 4.5 quarts. If you're dropping the pan, I think it mentions valve body. We obviously didn't do that, but we had quite a bit of fluid come out when we pulled the strainer. So anyway, hopefully this will motivate you to do your own transmission service. And so far it's shifting good. It's no different than it was. If it was worse, I'd be very disappointed. So I'm going to continue to drive this around and wrap it up. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. I will be bringing more Toyota content to the channel. If you have a friend that's looking to do this, share it with a friend. Leave a comment, even if it's just a thumbs up. You know, it really helps the algorithm find the videos or share the video. So anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.